Can you explain the armpit pull to me again? Can't find the videos I last saw the explanation in. Thank you so much for your question, and I will happily explain the armpit pull technique, but I also want to explain the entire technique in this video, including the pulling with your armpit technique. And I think that if you implement all these techniques that I'm about to give you in this video, you will definitely get your first muscle up or clean up your current muscle up technique. And you don't always have to use all of the technique tips that I'm giving. Maybe it's just one or two of the tips that you resonate with. So I often speak about pulling with the armpits technique. When you're hanging from the bar, you can focus on different body parts when you're pulling. And what you focus on amplifies, you get a stronger mind-muscle connection. In my experience, you can either focus on pulling with your armpits. So what that means is, when you're hanging from the bar, imagine that you're closing your armpits, you're covering your armpits as fast as you can. And that will look like this. And when you're pulling with your armpits or closing the armpits as fast as you can, you will naturally get into a very good bar path. And a good bar path in this case is pulling as close to the bar as possible with the most amount of force. So when you're closing your armpits or pulling with your armpits, you're applying all the force here. So covering your armpits, pulling with your armpits, and driving the pull up through the armpits. So that is what I mean by pulling with the armpits. But you can also focus on pulling with your biceps. The same thing, you're hanging from the bar, you're focusing on pulling with your biceps. The mind-muscle connection is on the biceps instead of the armpits. So you're pulling with your biceps all the way through. Both of these techniques, both of these focus points will get you into a very good bar path. As I said, that is closer to the bar and more compact. So when you're doing the muscle up, you don't want to be out here. You want to be here. So when you're focusing on closing the armpits or pulling with your biceps, you're creating elbow flexion. Elbow flexion is here, not here, but here. Some people like the cue of a reverse bicep curl. You have flexion in your elbows. You're bending your elbows. Instead of pulling out here, you're pulling here. So that is the power of focusing on your armpits when you're pulling, or your bicep. That is the first tip. And if you benefited from my videos and want to support me in a small way, you can always buy me a coffee. So a couple of months ago, I signed up for this really cool site called Buy Me a Coffee. And I'll leave a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page in the description below. And thank you for all your support. So the next tip is about how wide you should grip the bar. This varies a lot. Some people grab the bar around here, so very narrow. I actually like to grab the bar, let's say, shoulder width apart and a little bit more, so about here. It all depends where you feel the strongest, where you have the strongest pull. When you're grabbing the bar a little bit wider, for me, the transition becomes a little bit easier because you don't have to pull as high before you transition over the bar. My recommendation is shoulder width apart and a little bit outside. And the third tip is what I call arch to hollow. This tip might take some time to master or get a hang of, but basically, when you're hanging from the bar, you have a relaxed core, okay? So you're not tensing your core and you're not overly arching your core, you're just relaxing your core. And when you're hanging and relaxing your core, you will naturally create an arch. And when you're performing the muscle up, you go from an arch to a hollow. So it's kind of an explosive move from the core, an arch to hollow. And I will demonstrate the timing of the arch to hollow, because that is also very important. You don't want to do the arch to hollow too early in the swing. You want to do it in your backswing. And that tip really clicked for some people. So it's a great way of getting that pop over the bar. But it doesn't only create a pop, it also helps you to get your body in a correct position when transitioning. The fourth tip is what I call the 2-point pull-up. And I've been speaking about the 2-point pull-up a lot in my videos, just because it has helped a lot of my clients and a lot of my subscribers to get their first muscle up, or to do consecutive muscle ups, or many more in a row. So the 2-point pull-up, or the 2-point muscle up, is the idea that you don't pull with 100% of your power from the start position. When you're pulling with 100% from the bottom position, your legs will flare out. If you want a more clean muscle up, if you want a more powerful muscle up, I would recommend pulling with about 50 to 70% of your power until here. Not a slow pull, but a medium slow pull until here, And from here, you explode over the bar. There's actually a muscle-up drill that looks like this. So you're hanging from the bar, and from here, you're exploding over the bar. So from here to here. And in that way, you can train that particular part of the muscle-up, which is from 90 degrees to over the bar. And this technique is the same. You're hanging from the bar, you're pulling up with 50 to 70% of your power until 90 degrees, and from here, you explode over the bar. So if you can combine all of these techniques, or just use a few of them in your muscle-up workout, I can guarantee that your muscle-up progress will skyrocket. So tip number 5 is the grip. So if you have watched a lot of muscle-up YouTube videos, you notice that a lot of people are gripping the bar like this, knuckles facing the sky. So that's called an overhand grip. It's not a false grip, which almost put your wrists on the bar, but more of an overhand grip. So as I said, the knuckles are facing the sky. This grip requires more strength from the forearms, but that grip is not at all mandatory for the muscle-up. The advantage of the overhand grip is that it makes the transition a little bit easier, because you don't have to rotate your hands as much as if you're hanging from your fingers, so to speak. And it also shortens the distance that you have to pull. Let me show you. So I'm not sure that you will be able to see this. So with this hand I will hang from the fingers, and with this hand I will hang from an overhand grip. So hanging from an overhand grip will shorten the distance that I have to pull. So this arm is now shorter than this arm, which means that this arm have to pull higher to get over the bar. Oof, it's really cold today, but in the end it all comes down to where you feel the most powerful. Even if it shortens the distance a little bit, the overhand grip, it doesn't really matter if that grip isn't as powerful as your normal pull-up bar grip. So you can play around with that too and see what suits you the most. Okay guys, so let's put all of these tips together. Choose your resistance band, loop it around the bar. I grab the bar wider than shoulder width apart. I will be focusing on pulling with my armpits, and in the backswing I will go from a relaxed arch to a hollow. So that move is very aggressive, from a relaxed arch to pop, okay, like a pop. And at the same time, I will throw my chest over the bar. And all of that together looks like this. And that will make for an effortless muscle up. And when you get those techniques together, you really feel that you will fly over the bar. So let's take a look at one more rep from another angle. So in the first angle, I think you could really see the pop going from an arch to a hollow, and that is really important. And you don't want to do the arch to hollow too early. You want to do it a little bit later in the swing. Alright, going from an arch to hollow, grip is wider than shoulder width apart, pulling with the armpits.